Welcome back to the channel, y'all. My name is Pete Gottschalk, content producer at Major League Baseball. If you're new here, a few days ago, I made a post on my Instagram story asking y'all to send in some edits so I could react to them on YouTube, so that's what we're doing. I was gonna do like 5 or 6, but I decided against that and I'm just gonna do like 10. Of course, I can't get to everyone's video. If I did, this video would be like an hour and a half long. Had a bunch of submissions, so I appreciate every single one of y'all for sending videos in. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I figured it would be some good content around the holidays. And I promise you, I will be doing another one of these at some point on this channel. If I don't get to yours, maybe I'll get to it next time. Without further ado, let's get into some of these edits. Hope I don't get copyrighted here. I know I might. The first video I'm gonna be going over is a Michigan and Northwestern football edit from Wrigley Field. Very unique setting, of course. It's from Jason Lee. So let's get into this.
Here in Chicago, we've got
all I ever wanted was a black grand national. Being rational, give them what they asked for. But somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on the gas, but somebody gotta do it. Turn his TV off, 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 turn his TV off.
That was a fire edit, Jason. Appreciate you sending that in. I know I'm gonna get copyrighted on this video. Not that it matters, I don't make anything from these videos, but a few things that stood out to me were your incorporation of some like hyperlapses, or I don't know if that was on a gimbal during pregame. I really like that look. I think it's a good way to set things up and show off the atmosphere of the stadium, or the setting rather. Obviously being in Wrigley Field, I think you did a fantastic job of showing the viewer that it was in Wrigley Field, right? So you showed the ribbon board there with the Wrigley Field. You showed the scoreboard at the end. You had the hyperlapses, whatever that was, like I said, gimbal around the field. Really good job there. The other thing that I think I really liked, and I noticed a lot of college football style edits like this one that do it, is like the mixing of like a black and white or a monochrome and those kind of X-ray type blur effects that kind of make you focus on one subject in the frame. Rather, I think you did a good job of mixing that monochrome and then also with color, of course, and switching between the two and in the same shot even. And then, of course, the obvious one is the sound design. You know, a lot of these college football edits, especially this one, do the sound design really, really well with all the clicks and the flashes and, you know, the reverse sound effects and the subtle swooshes and stuff that are under there. I'm sure there's like 5, 6, or 7 even layers of sound effects under clips at a time and overlapping. So great job there. I think if you're a new sports editor, this is a good one to kind of base a lot of your sound design off. I've talked about this in previous videos, but sound design is what now will take your edits from like, you know, a normal sports edit to like something higher elevated. It's always kind of been the case across all edits, rather not just sports in general, but incorporating that sound design I think is a lot of what you new editors could kind of focus on. And this is a good edit and a good use of sound design. So definitely go give that a look and go give Jason's Instagram some love, of course. So the next edit is from Richard Stafford. Thank you for sending this video in, Richard. And the reason I wanted to do this was because it's very unique. You don't see a lot of sports edits like this set to this type of song.
Dear Lord, thank you today. Thank you for letting us come out here today. Lord, I pray that you'll be with the sickness that's going around. Pray that we'll have a good day of practice today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Hit the baseball up the middle of the cage on 10 degrees, which is like top of the L screen, okay? Work on that. Get yourself better. I want to see smooth transition, but hand in hand together.
Weightlessness, no gravity.
I can stay aside the ball. Can we get a
Really
spot call?
somewhere
Well, what about with the break?
unseen.
Alumni game, I'm in.
I didn't hear you.
I'm a ghost to you, you're a ghost to me. A bird's eye view, a chandelier.
That's better. Just gotta keep those hands tight.
That video is amazing. I love it because it made me feel an emotion. And like, I think that is like ultimately what we're trying to do with our edits and content and shots as in this industry. So you successfully invoked that in me. When I watch this, I have nothing to do with that team, Hartfield Sports or Hartfield Baseball, whatever. But I think the reason it got some emotion out of me was because it reminded me of like when you were a kid going to baseball practice. Like that video was just pure, raw. It made you feel like you were there in a way, and it shows that you don't have to have these like super complex sound design, sports edits all the time that take all this work. Sometimes this best way is just composition, using the shadows like Richard did in that video as well. Some static shots mixed in with just utilizing the lighting of like the late afternoon sun. And I think the way the song worked, I'm also a huge fan of that artist, Gregory Alan Isakov. I've never thought to use a song in a baseball edit or any sports edit of his because they're so calming and more relaxing and stuff like that. But this song played really well with that late afternoon sun. And there was also the natural sound in there, which really made it authentic and very real. It felt like something out of kind of like a movie or whatnot. I know that's a very cliche statement to make, but I think it was just a perfect kind of culmination of, you remember when you went to baseball practice on like a Wednesday afternoon or something as a kid, right? So, and that's kind of what it made me feel like. Doing drills, authentic, the warm sun, I don't know, just invoked emotion in me. So appreciate you, Richard. Thank you for sending that in. Very unique edit. This next edit was sent in by Ben Barchie, and it's a little bit more on the funny side. So that's why I picked it. I'm a sucker for these types of edits.
He was on fire. Speed. I'm faster than fast, quicker than quick. I am lightning. I am speed.
Don't send it. You ain't have emotion. You ain't got it.
You're gonna get a run, Andy.
All right, very short and sweet there, but overall loved it. I think it was a very creative idea, right? Marrying like the NASCAR or marrying that actual racing footage with Lightning McQueen and even including Lightning McQueen's numbers. I think that's something we can all relate back to as a kid when you watched Cars. They're such a likable movie character. And then one thing that I thought was insane, the transition there, was going from track to the football shot and kind of how you overlaid that cutout of him. Absolutely nuts transition there. I think in terms of visual effects, this was very visual effects heavy, but it was such a short edit that it wasn't overwhelming. I know you had some help with that one on the effects and everything like that on that edit. I know there's some other people involved, but overall that edit was awesome. One thing that I really would have liked is maybe a more obvious text. I know you put his name behind him in the very couple first seconds, and it's also in the caption, so maybe this is on me, but it was kind of hard for me to read on the actual edit, so that's just one thing I think that could have changed with the edit. I want to know who this guy is, but that, again, could have been just me. So overall, awesome edit, man. Thank you for sending that in. Next edit is an edit from Kinley Erickson up in Alaska, actually, and I know that you're relatively new to video editing, so I wanted to kind of go over this edit and see what, I think you're doing well and what you can improve on.
Money talks, what the is he saying? You can ask his who's the man. Lil' bro, them get the steppin' like parades about them bands. My little Tinkerbell, cause I'm fly as Peter Pan. Yeah, let's go, get some money, they playin'. Hopped up out this cyber truck, my wrist cost a lamb. Tired of buying cars to my driveway jam. The neighbors still trying to figure out who I am, who I be. Pillow talking to these weak. They say money talk, put diamonds in my teeth. I be Louis down with Jordans on my feet. Let's go.
It's pretty fire, Kinley, knowing that you're pretty new to video editing and shooting too, relatively speaking. But that was a really good start of where you're going to go up in. A few things that I really liked that you did that a lot of people don't do, especially early on, is you mixed a lot of your angles up, right? So I'm assuming you shot this whole thing too. You shot some stuff from the concourse, you shot some stuff from behind the court, you shot some stuff up by the net, you were tight, you were wide. I think like mixing up of focal lengths is something that a lot of people don't do enough of. They always just want to be as close as possible or on the court. And I think in 2025, going into 2026, that is something people should stray away from at times. But I think you did a good job of mixing up your focal lengths. Also, the quick cuts was very engaging, I found. Again, I have no hand or rooting interest in your volleyball team. I mean that in a least offensive way possible, but I felt very engaged by this video. Another thing was the use of kind of that audio manipulation at the beginning where you slowed the song down or reverbed it and then went into the actual song. I love that song choice as well. A few things that I think you could do better is less reliance on warp stabilizer. I can tell that you're using it, and maybe instead of like using the maximum ability or the 50% influence or whatever it's called that you can have on warp stabilizer, turn that down to like 1%, because it is kind of obvious in certain shots that it's involved. And in turn, I think like adding some stability to your shots so you don't have to do that would be kind of helpful. So ways to do that would be just shooting wider, generally speaking. Getting a gimbal, I don't know if you're willing to do something like that. Using a monopod could also help. And then also one thing that I did early on in my career when I was shooting, especially volleyball at Georgia, was I had a camera strap, and I would take the camera strap and I would tighten it up so I could hold it out and it would be kind of around my neck with no slack, right? So that creates another point of contact. So it's gonna keep your shots kind of naturally a little bit more stable if it's kind of pulled tight. Another thing I think you could add is maybe some sound design. I know I've said this already in this video, but sound design is huge, 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 especially in these modern edits in college sports and stuff like that. Just messing around with it could help. I know you're new to all this, so take it with a grain of salt. You can find sound effects, whoosh effects, stuff like that on YouTube for free and just download them. That's what I've done in the past. Making your shots a little bit more stable using less warp stabilizer or kind of honing it in a little bit more. And then also adding some sound design. But overall, I think you have a great, great, great edit here and a great start from a shooting and editing perspective. But I appreciate you sending that video in. Next video is from Arthur over in France. I know me and Arthur have DM'd a lot over the years, and his stuff has really elevated. I was very happy when I saw him DM me this video. I know he didn't shoot all of it from what my understanding is, but he shot a little bit of it. And it is a kit launch for PSG over in France, which if you don't know what a kit is, it's a jersey, and PSG is one of the biggest soccer clubs in Europe.
Pochette, Spali, Cali, les clients ils achètent 800 vrai mais et puis 800 vrai mais et dans les pochettes. Vas-y ramène la recette, 2Z pochette, NBA, tout que je veux être sur la pochette. Fuck les chapeaux, les Escobar, ce qu'on veut c'est finir en kite.
So Arthur, I really loved that edit. I think one thing you did really well, and that's the goal of any kind of kit-related content. I don't know if this was the official launch video or not. I think you did a very good job of like marrying Paris and its landmarks and its beauty and in fashion and what type of city it is with the kit, which I know that's the goal of the kit, right? Is to kind of marry that architecture and Paris's excellence there. And I think it's really something PSG does well, and it's really something that you do well in this edit as well. I know that's a lot of wells there. Another thing, the mixing of black and white versus, the in-color footage and when the beat switches up and when it goes actually into the full kit reveal. I think that adds kind of a dynamic effect to this. Also, the colors look really, really smooth. I highly suggest, if anyone wants to look at how to color grade and how colors should look, this video, whether it's the black and white scenes color graded or if it's the full in color shots, they both look really good. I know you're in a studio, so the lighting's gonna be really good, but overall very, very smooth with like the little bit of greens and blues and the highlights and shadows and whatnot. So I think this one overall had a really good color grade. And then the mixing of the vintage shots, right? I don't know what you used to do that. That was like a camcorder or kind of went back in post and did it. I think the whooshes and the swishing around and zooming in on the landmarks in Paris was just amazing. It was just an amazing video. Very clean, very smooth, very simple too. Thank you, Arthur. Next one is from Zach Ball at Ohio State. Now I want to preface this with like Ohio State football. I know there's a few creators that I follow from there. You guys make like nuts stuff.
From Geese Memorial Stadium. Hey, yo, Black, it's time.
That's an NFL catch right there.
Composition of pain, I'm like Scarface.
Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
Bullet holes left in my peepholes. I'm shooting out the street codes. Run me a 9 and out the feet froze. Y'all know my stilo. When
Buckeyes.
Awesome video, Zach. I appreciate you sending that in, as always, but that was nuts, truthfully. Some of these college football edits are like next level edits. I don't really understand what they're feeding kids and these editors. But again, similar to the video I went over from Jason Lee from Northwestern in Michigan, this edit does a few things well, right? It does the visual effects fantastically, and like sometimes with some of these edits, I think there are effects that are oftentimes out of place, and they're just, the editor is just throwing in effects to throw in effects, and this one doesn't really feel like that. It kind of makes the video feel like one whole continuous video, if that makes sense. I kind of liken these edits sometimes to like an A$AP Rocky music video, where there's a lot of swooshes and quick cuts and visual effects, right? But in reality, it's just a lot of quick cuts, some blur effects, maybe some simple masks, and it's just cut so quickly that it makes the viewer feel immersed, right? I think that's what these college football edits do. And then you add on all those camera flash sound effects, camera shutter sound effects, cymbals, reverse sound effects, whooshes, risers, all of that layered sound design, it really immerses the viewer. Again, another example of mixing black and white footage with color, right? So I think switching back and forth, keyframing the saturation is, again, just such a simple effect, but it achieves such a immersive kind of experience for the viewer. So this is another example. If you're a young editor, I highly suggest you watch, download it, break it down frame by frame, slow it down, and you can kind of see every individual mask, camera flash, Adobe transitions. You know, I don't know what you're using there. It might be an effects pack. It might be the new effects in Adobe. I appreciate you sending that in, Zach. I think that was just a fantastic edit. Go Dogs, though. So let's do a couple baseball edits. This is something I'm obviously very familiar with. First, I'm going to start off with my guy, Ryan Levy. Ryan actually works for MLB as one of our LCCs out in San Diego and does some awesome stuff. All right, awesome edit, Ryan. Really simple. I loved it. It's just a way to show off your shots, I would imagine. And as a way to show off your shots as like a little mini reel, I think it was just so perfectly done. You made it truly about the shots rather than the edit to a certain extent, right? But you included some simple transitions in there, like the Manny jersey flip, a couple of like shots lined up together in different jerseys from different nights of the same player. So you see that consistent transition there. I don't know if you're color grading your footage or it's the natural light or what you shoot with in camera, but the colors look really smooth here, not overly contrasty, but it fits for Southern California. So your shots there, I think if like you shot that same way or color graded whatever you're doing there, that same way in like a city like Detroit where it's like nitty gritty, cold, like I don't think it works. So I love the like warm aesthetic of this because I think it fits San Diego and it also helps match their colors, the golden brown. And then also one thing that you do well, and this isn't really necessarily an edit side, I mean it kind of can be, but you mix in a lot of shots from different locations in the stadium. I know shooting in San Diego is tough. There's very small photo wells. So mixing up your angles, shooting from up high for that Ohtani home run, out in the outfield for some of these, like for the Vientos shot, for example, I think is really, really cool. And you do a great job of that. Appreciate you, Ryan. Next edit is from Carter Green. Carter Green does stuff for the Milwaukee Brewers. And if you don't follow the Brewers, I highly recommend, I realize I just say Brewers kind of funny, but if you don't follow them, go follow them because there's a lot of fantastic content that comes out of there. And this edit is Brice Turang, and I believe it's about his like speed and base stealing ability. And there's a little bit of a funny twist to this, so I want to talk about that.
50 stolen base club. He is the 5th in franchise history to do that.
That's an unbelievable milestone. That's so hard to do.
One of the best base runners in the game. Stealing bags at an epic rate. This guy is a star.
And a base stealing threat is aboard as Turang takes off on the first pitch. Turang off to the races. Another bag for Turang. Turang takes off. Turang flying around the bag, thrown to the plate, he's safe! Safe! Oh, look at him go! Safe!
That actually sent me, because it starts as like a normal edit, right? And then it just goes like wacky. It starts with that normal just broadcast shot, and then it just goes like he starts doing flips and tumbles and gets really small and walking on his hands. I think this is like a good example of not every edit should be super hype and serious. And it kind of ties in with that Barchie edit from Florida State. Not every edit has to be really serious. And some of these effects are actually really hard to do, where you like taking a cutout of Turang and like animating his arms, like walking, flipping him upside down. Like, I think all the ways that Carter made Brice and manipulated Brice into the different ways was really creative, honestly. And especially the soccer one too, like where he kicks the ball. That is just such a crazy creative tie-in. This is a good use of motion blur and blurring effects, right? So like when you get that kind of zoom blur effect, kind of like the Instagram filter, it's gonna cover up a lot of what the viewer can see, right? So I assume that you're just cutting Brice Turang out and making it into like a PNG or something like that and animating it, or it's just a simple mask. And the use of blur there and fast cuts is going to kind of make it easier, right? So these cutouts of Brice Turang don't have to be perfect if you're a new editor. I'm not talking to Carter here. If you're a new editor, these cutouts, if you want to do something similar, don't have to be perfect. You just kind of have to manipulate the viewer and create quick cuts and enough motion blur to where it'll hide, you know, the imperfections of the edit. It's kind of hard to articulate unless actually shown if I saw his layers and stuff. But overall, I thought that was just such a funny and creative edit. Next edit is from Gabe Keck, and it is a Lakeland Tigers, which is a minor league affiliate of the Detroit Tigers, I do believe. I might be speaking wrong on that. But it's a playoff hype video.
Looking up and it's gone!
All right, that was an awesome edit, Gabe. I liked it a lot. You're bringing that kind of college football style edit to baseball. There are some things that I think you did really well, and there's a few things that I think you could improve on overall. And this is also the Lakeland Flying Tigers. Sorry for my mistake. Overall, I think your mixing of footage from practice, your access, of course, in the bullpens, and then also game footage, reactions, celebration footage, a great mix there. You don't just have game footage. And your sound design is fantastic in this. The song was a little louder in the beginning, mixed with the Nat sound in the second half after that switch, where you cut the song out for the BP hit and the bat sound. I don't mind that attempt. I see what you're trying to do. I think you could maybe transition that a little better there. I don't know how you would do it, but maybe adding like a riser effect before you cut to like the BP thing and you cut out the song. I think maybe disguising that transition a little better could help, because it definitely took me a little bit off guard. But overall, your sound design was really good. I think you brought that style of college football edit to baseball really, really well. I love the bat sounds. I love the whooshes. I love you pairing that up with like a zoom in effect at the very end, and I thought the video ended really well with the natural sounds of the celebrations and the crowd, whatever that was. I think the Lakeland effect there of like scrolling through, you know, the different kind of font faces and articles or whatever that was, screenshots. Fantastic job. It's such a good way to bring the viewer in, right? I know it's the Lakeland Tigers, Flying Tigers, sorry. I know that's what I'm watching, because then it goes to like a baseball stadium lights, and then it goes into the BP shot or the warm-up shot of the third baseman there. I thought you did a fantastic job showing the audience and immersing myself and the audience in to the video and helping them understand what this edit was about. And it definitely got me hype about the Lakeland Flying Tigers. So overall, Gabe, great job, dude. Thank you for sending this video in. So this next edit is from Peyton Michlig. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, Peyton, but this is Troy Franklin workout edit. Troy Franklin, if you know who he is, he's a wide receiver for the Broncos. I only know that because I'm in 3 fantasy leagues.
Here we go. Doing my business and court sides, pretty shits and on east side. Used to serve on the east side. You know gangsta, you see now. I know who with me without a doubt. Snap, you gon' tweet down.
I got the noise. You better shoot, let's go.
They depending on me now. Them believes on my feet out. 20
Somebody fast as you? Yeah. When you go speed off the line, you gonna win that one right there every time.
I'm the inspiration, don't know what to do. Rockin' out for one, nearly in this crew, back no two. I'm like Tyreek Hill, they give me a little gap, I'm running through it. I'm getting
Stay tuned. 2025. It's gonna be a special year.
I'm really still good though. It's just, you know, when you're going consistently, you might get a little tired faster. But still
I love that edit, Peyton. I don't know if that was just for Troy's like agency or his own Instagram. I assume it was. So, you know, people who follow him are going to know him and who he is when they see that workout tape come up. I think for it being a workout tape, it was really good. You did a lot of really good effects there. The colors were good. I liked the little pixelated effect, like when he's turning that route and there's like the pixelation around him. It's very subtle. If you're not paying attention, it's easy to miss, but I loved it and I loved the subtlety of it. I think there's some effects in there that you could probably tone back a little bit, like the slow motion wobble and then he kind of comes in when he claps his hands. I think that effect you could kind of, you know, maybe tone down or make a little faster per se. And then one other thing that I would have liked to see in that edit is like maybe him drinking water or him stretching or like a different variation of shots. The only thing I thought there was too much of was like running routes and actually catching. I thought it was just a little too much of that. So I think you could have done some really cool things with like him tying his shoes, like, or drinking water. Like I think there could be some really cool effects in your editing style that you could have used with more stuff or a more variation of shots rather. Another thing that I thought would have been a cool addition is like captions. So like when his trainer or coach, whoever that is talking to him, like little yellow captions, something subtle and small would have been really cool. I loved the you versus you thing. That was a nice touch. But other than that, just adding some captions, maybe toning back the effects or making them a little faster or more subtle, especially that one, would go a long way. But overall, man, I thought that was a really fun edit to watch. Got me a little bit of an idea of Troy Franklin's personality, which I think was the goal. But I think that was a fire edit. Thank you so much, Peyton. That is my last edit that I'm going over. I've been sitting here in this chair looking at y'all's edits for a long time. And I can't complain. This was a really fun thing to do. I love doing these, and I appreciate every single one of y'all for sending in an edit. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to every single one. I've been sitting here for an hour watching these videos, and it would be like triple that if I went over all of them. But I don't want to whine about it. Don't want to complain about it. Y'all are very supportive of the content on this channel. So I appreciate every single one of y'all, and make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see y'all in the next one.